All right. So when it comes to the issues of national governance, this particular administration is lacking in different aspects. And watch this video because you are going to get lots of facts that shows that the NNPC, is not really committed to giving Nigerians the much needed flexibility they need in the petroleum sector. I mean, Dangote Refinery is meant to cushion the effects of the petroleum and fuel and other product prices, but it's not actually coming in place. So watch this video so that you get this revelation.
What brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr.
Good morning. Adefemi, how are you today?
I'm okay,
It's a green day. Today is Independence Day.
Yeah. Patriotic. How patriotic. Well done to the two of you. All right, so let's start with the world brief. Sir Keir Starmer has said that Russia started the Ukraine war, the conflict straight away. The Prime Minister has arrived in Washington, D.C. for talks with President Joe Biden at the White House over the ongoing conflict. Has been providing Ukraine with Storm Shadow cruise missiles since last year. But like the US, it does not allow the country to launch the weapons against sites in Russia amid fears of escalation. Now, before Starmer's arrival, President Putin said allowing long-range strikes would mean that NATO countries, the US and European countries are at war with Russia, essentially triggering Article 5. If this is so, the change, bearing in mind the change in the very essence of this conflict, it will make appropriate based on the threats that will be created for us. So those are very, very strong words from President to the United Kingdom, other countries in NATO, and of course, staying with the United States. And it has announced that it's placing sanctions on 16 officials who are closely aligned with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro following his disputed election victory. Refused to recognize Maduro as the winner and says it is convinced the opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez received more votes. All those named in this indictment, in this Treasury statement, barred from entering the United States, and all there is blocked. Among those sanctioned is Rosalba Gil, who is one of 5 members of Venezuela's CNE, that's Venezuela's National Electoral Council. It also includes 5 judges which upheld the CNE's decision to award Maduro a 3rd consecutive term in office. All of them have been sanctioned, as well as members of Venezuela's security forces, as the US Treasury accuses them of being responsible for repression through intimidation, indiscriminate detentions, censorship. Nigeria stands to receive $589 billion, more than $272 million from 8 partnership agreements it has signed with the United Kingdom. The deals commit both countries to collaborate on governance, climate change, education, health, as well as the economy. Now, it's signed by both economic planning, Abubakar Bagudu, and also the UK's development director in Nigeria, Cynthia Rowe, who has set out objectives for these partnership agreements. They are to deliver honest, reliable investment, provide women and girls the freedom to succeed, stepping up life-saving support, sustainable economic. Some good news in terms of what Nigeria stands to receive from the United Kingdom and for all of these different tenants in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good news, but yes, the devil is in the details. Also, even more for Nigeria in the implementation. Once sign all these deals, not just here in Nigeria, but even we have visits abroad. Indeed. And then what then happens is what's up after those signings, and then to see the real impact on the people. For a lot of people, these are just headlines if it doesn't make real impact. Right. To be honest, the UK-Nigerian relations has been in for many years, and so we've seen it through training, through efforts, through upskilling our military and staff. Very important. We have quite a strong UK-Nigerian trade group, and also Nigeria. Interesting to see to what extent the impact would be. We have heard signings in recent times, but what we want to see is action. We want to see it carried. We want to see it implemented. And most importantly, we want to see the impact on the people of Nigeria. Now, to the U.S. sanctions, it's very sad for me when I see a sovereign nation business and then gets foreign intervention or interference, as some people might say, in their affairs. This is not the first time. The U.S. has involved itself in elected parts of the world, and they're able to make their stance clear through measures of sanctions. In Nigeria, remember very clearly when some judges and high-profile politicians were sanctioned and refused entry into the United States as a result of their conduct during elections. To what extent is this a deterrent? Yes, I mean, because a lot of people either do business or transact business in the U.S., have accounts and bank accounts in the U.S., run, visit or have family members in the U.S. It does have, some, but the truth is that when nations, thankfully this is not on the African continent, but when would nations be able to conduct free and fair elections? Well, the people are asking Maduro to do very simple, show workings, show us the numbers. How did you win? Let us see, and let's put this to rest.
Okay, two quick issues. Let me start with Vladimir Putin. President Putin was on state television yesterday, and he was saying in response to the plan United Kingdom to give up for Ukraine to make use of the Storm missiles, which are British-made and all in collaboration with the United States, that this will mean a significant escalation in the conflict, and that Russia will have no option but to deploy the appropriate response as it deems necessary. Implication for global peace is that we're faced with a situation where there could be an escalation in terms of the war between Ukraine and Russia. I had made the point that what has triggered this was, Russia buying over 200 ballistic missiles. And now the U.S. are just saying that if Russia puts those 200 ballistic missiles to use, that could, escalate the crisis and put Ukraine at a disadvantage. Now, on Wednesday, Daniel Lammy, Foreign Secretary of the UK, Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, they met in Kiev with President Zelensky. Now, today, President Biden is meeting with Keir Starmer, and this is the big issue that they're going to decide upon. What's relevance for us as members of the global community is that we're likely to have an escalation in that war. Such escalation that could result in Russia deploying chemical weapons. Because the effect of these ballistic missiles is that Russia can deep inside Ukraine. Ukraine too, if it gets the go from the British and the Americans, can strike deep America. But, the Russian president is saying that attack by NATO, and that is how Russia will interpret it. Now, as for Venezuela, these 16 persons that have been indicted, more or less, by the American government. Well, was held on July 28. Now, before the polls, Nicolas Maduro's government said Maduro had won a third time. The opposition, Maria Machado, the candidate of the opposition, was denied the participation, which brought Zales into the game, led the protest. They said they have their own vote tallies, showing that Edmundo Gonzalez, that is the opposition, won. Now, the government went to court, High Court. The High Court decided that, the result has been confirmed for Maduro. Results that nobody has seen. Argentina is in trouble, because they say they won the result. Brazil, Mexico, about 50 countries of the world are saying you cannot conduct an election without declaring the results, without showing the vote tallies. The High Court endorsed it. Now, America, playing the role of the international policeman of democracy in the world, has now said, okay, through the Treasury Department, we're imposing these sanctions. But I think them on trial in Venezuela. Edmundo Gonzalez flee for asylum in Spain,
Yeah.
and 10th of January is when a new government will be announced. Machado, who is in hiding, is saying that she wants Venezuela to see this through to the end. So Venezuela is in trouble within the region and also internationally. I think for us, the international community should insist on best practices with regard to democracy, even if it's leading the fight against the judges, against the security officers, against the electoral officers who abuse human rights and do in Venezuela.
Thank you, Dr. Rubin. Thank you, Ayo, for your comments. Let's move on now to news headlines across the globe. We'll begin with Nigeria. Here in Nigeria newspaper. And this day leads with the NNPC demanding the deployment of its crude monitoring team to the Dangote Refinery, which is a sign of progress being made in the effort to supply the in-country crude. This day also reports that Dangote has agreed to sell the refined petrol in deployment of this permanent team of 6. These people will oversee the production and buying back process. Let's not forget that despite this progress, there are solved issues, including the price of the crude, the price mechanism itself, as well as a exchange rate for the naira too. So still a lot of issues looking at our oil situation. Telegraph. The New Telegraph stays with the Maiduguri flood. Its headline says that many are still trapped on rooftops with more than 400,000 households displaced. The article goes on to say that the official death toll is being compiled, but there are expectations of more bodies being recovered as the waters subside. Daily Trust too also leads with the aftermath of the flood. One survivor says his wife, 5 children are missing. There are also reports of canoe operators, to some extent, taking advantage of the situation, charging 100,000 naira in order to help rescue his sheep. The Daily Independent now, let's take a look at their front page. It features a host of stories, but if we take a look at the bottom of the page, we see the People's Democratic Party will defend its votes with their blood. Edo will take to the ballot box to choose its next governor on September 21st, next weekend. And the PDP have called on the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to immediately redeploy the Edo State Commissioner of Police in order to guarantee confidence, they say, during the Edo State election. Now, the Punch is also staying on Edo elections. The newspaper is opposition's fearing violence as the PDP shun the peace accord. Now, the acting national chairman of the PDP, that's Umar Damagum, he says that they didn't peace accord because they had given conditions which apparently were not met, and they have been highlighting that members of only one party are being arrested. Their members are being harassed, and contributes to the reason why they did not participate in the peace accord. Let's take a look at the Vanguard now. And the Vanguard has President Tinubu and King Charles pictured shaking hands. It's believed the British requested to see the Nigerian president at Buckingham Palace earlier this week. Tinubu and King Charles are reportedly explore opportunities for collaboration in anticipation of the upcoming COP29 summit in Azerbaijan and the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa. Now, President Tinubu reiterated Nigeria's firm commitment, he says, to in a manner that aligns with the country's energy security objectives, whilst also affirming Nigeria's readiness to adopt global strategies for sustainability. Let's move on to South Africa now. And the Citizen of Africa says that the second largest party, the GNU National Unity, has warned that the future of its agreement is at risk if President Cyril Ramaphosa signs the basic education law.
So guys, as you can see, there is a whole lot going on in Nigeria, and the earlier the relevant authorities wake up to its responsibility, the better for the country, because people are going through a lot and Nigerians cannot continue like this. There has been lots of calls for there to be serious reforms, both in the economy and the petroleum sector, but it seems the government is not taking it serious. So, but all in all, there's urgent need for the government to work on the economy in order to revive it, so that the suffering and the hardship being faced by the masses can be reduced. Okay? Alright, so I would like to know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Do like this video, subscribe to this channel, and also turn on the notification icon so that you always get notified whenever we post new videos.